Hello and welcome to my dungeon, or Stormvale Castle to be exact. Today I want to analyze the dungeon design of Soulsborne titles using Elden Ring, the latest, as an example. I'm going to show you a part of this massive dungeon, highlighting what I think are the most interesting design aspects of this, and also discuss how you can integrate this into your TTRPG dungeons. This is something that interests you? Like and subscribe, and let's get started. And we start right away with environmental storytelling. Clearly, a battle has taken place here, and these crests on the shields on the ground might give us a hint as to who dared to attack this fortress. Clearly, this is a mighty fortification, just look at the size and opulence of it, but it is heavily damaged. Whatever force attacked this castle must have been powerful indeed. Take a look at this path in the distance there. I wonder how I can get there. This highlights the use of foreshadowing. Look here, the gate's closed, but there are some items. I wonder if I can get in that way.
Oh, hello.
Elden Ring makes great use of level design, of dungeon design, to show parts of the dungeon in the distance that you will only be able to explore later. So this guy has arranged for the gates to be opened and... oh, it's a trap. There are lots of heavy crossbows up there. I don't think I want to go that way. Instead, let's take this side path over here. Look at these large gouges in the wall. What kind of siege equipment could have done that? What kind of magic? Whatever it was, it has created this breach in the castle walls that we are now following to get inside. The lesson here being, a dungeon should have more than one entrance. Maybe an obvious one, maybe a not so obvious one, but no more than 3 that the group will find right away, lest they get choice paralysis. While fighting this eagle, take note of the enemy design and their placement in the level. This eagle got metal blades attached to its talons, so clearly it's not a wild animal. It's a domesticated beast of war. These are like watchdogs, but in this treed area of rocky slopes and tall walls, a flying enemy is actually really dangerous, and their mobility makes it hard to fight them. So the enemies are placed in an area that makes sense for them, but also takes advantage of their abilities. But also notice how if I explore carefully and take in my surroundings carefully, I can always spot these enemies ahead of time, so I'm not surprised. I will only run into an enemy ambush if I don't take careful consideration of my surroundings. As I come around this corner, once more take note of the foreshadowing. I can clearly see the next section of the level I have to tackle, and the environmental storytelling. Look at those huge holes in the wall. Also this wooden walkway. This has clearly been constructed as an afterthought. This is probably the way that the attackers took and constructed in order to get into the castle. And who are these soldiers guarding the castle? Their weapons and armor and the shields they are using looks nothing like the soldiers that I fought outside of the castle, and it looks nothing like the shield that we saw at the beginning of the castle, or even are these guys. As we enter the interior of the castle, the game presents us with a choice. Go upstairs or check out where the downstairs area is going. And because of this dungeon's generous foreshadowing, we can make an informed decision here. Where we want to go to continue the level is probably up. So this downstairs area is probably not the main path, but there might be something interesting hidden there anyhow, behind all of these crates that will make it worth checking out. But after this short detour, let's continue on the main path. What's up with those barrels? They look suspicious. What's he throwing? Oh, that was a trap. An ambush. These enemies, these commoners that are probably the working residents of this castle, are very weak on their own, hardly a threat at all, but placed with the exploding barrels to throw their fire charges at, they can be really dangerous. But it was also possible to avoid that danger because of the generous foreshadowing of this event. These barrels look different from other barrels because they were marked with the white stripes. So by all means, place your enemies deliberately to make them as dangerous as possible. Lay traps for your PCs, but be fair about it. Foreshadow it. Give the PCs an opportunity to avoid these traps and ambushes. Get around them, maybe even give them the opportunities to return the favor. As we climb ever higher up in the rafters, notice how these are all stacked on top of each other, how the level is spiraling around itself. This makes it easier to foreshadow later parts of the dungeon and also to do backtracking. If I want to go to an earlier part of this section, I just have to drop down, and the level actually requires me to do that often if I want to get all of the interesting items that I can see in the distance. Now I can get down there. Let's see. Can I jump to this ledge? Probably. But I can't get in that hole. Could get from up there, but I haven't been there yet. Let's explore here. Once again, notice enemy placement. That guy with a spear and a shield is hard to fight in this narrow confines. So that's one of the items that we saw back there. That drop looks deadly, but look at all the earlier sections of the level that we've just cleared. And we drop back down into the section we have just been to. As you might notice, as we are climbing back up this ladder again, there's a fair bit of backtracking in this level, but it also gives you a new perspective on the level you have just been through, and you will usually spot something that you overlooked the first time you've been through the area. So if you force your players to backtrack through parts of your dungeon, at least make it interesting. Reveal more treasure, reveal more secret ways, or maybe have the dungeon change while the players were away, patrolling monsters and such. Maybe someone is resetting traps. Coming up here, if we move carefully, we can hear the approaching footsteps of the knight, warning us, once again foreshadowing us of the presence of a tough enemy. But he also has an easy to exploit patrol pattern that we can use to ambush the guy and take him out without taking any damage ourselves. Wonder where that elevator leads. Ooh, it's far down there. But for now, remember that item in the hole that I couldn't get down to before? Where does this ledge lead? This looks suspiciously like the same place, but from the other side. And there it is. And I kid you not, I have been through Stormvale Castle at least 5 times, and I never found the way into this hole to get this item. There's so much stuff hidden in here. It's amazing. And as we come back up here again and proceed to climb the tower, notice that little door there that is well lit and is probably the way to advance in this level. You usually have some indication of what is the main path you should be following. It is the biggest path, it is the brightest path, the path that gets you closer to your goal. While we are in this room, take a look at the environmental storytelling. In Elden Ring, this is a save room because there's a save point in the middle of it. But in a D&D dungeon, yeah, sure, this is a nice and cozy room. There's a fire burning, there's some cutlery on the table. This is a safe room for the guards. At some point, some guards that are at the end of their shift will probably come in here to take a break. Elden Ring also makes use of item descriptions for story exposition, but just the design and look of these items infers a lot of what is written here. This would indicate that the castle has indeed fallen during the siege, and the new residents of the castle don't look to be the attacking force, so it seems they just found the castle abandoned and took the opportunity to move in and make it their own. Here on this wall, once again, notice the foreshadowing. From up here we can clearly see other parts of the level, the challenges that awaits us, and the enemy patrols. Also, notice this eagle. Is it? Oh, it's an exploding barrel. Oh my god. How to make these even more annoying to fight. Give them exploding barrels they can throw at you, with even more exploding barrels around, to make these eagles even more annoying and dangerous to fight. These stairs look like the main path to advance, so let's check out this path in the back for items. Well, these are exploding barrels, and there's an exploding eagle. And usually he chucks the barrel and all of them explode, making this trap you can foresee, but also very dangerous if you just charge in blindly. We got lucky here with none of the barrels exploding, and for our search we are rewarded with a useful upgrade item. So even though this was a trapped encounter dead end, there was a worthwhile reward at the end of it, and it wasn't too much of a detour from the main path. And while we are speeding through the next section of the level, take notice that all of the detours we are doing eventually lead us back onto the main path. There are hardly any dead ends within this level, and usually if there are, they are fairly short and there will be an encounter or an item at the end. Most of the detours, no matter how long they are, eventually lead you back to the main path. These levels are full of loops, interconnected loops that are spiraling around each other, around the main path and around the save points of the level. So no matter which direction you choose going, eventually you will be led back to the main path of the level. And right here, see the gate down there? See those ballistas pointing at the gate? Indeed, we've looped all the way back to the entrance of the castle, but now we are behind the defenders dropping in from above. Time for some payback. To summarize, dungeons in Soulsborne games like Dark Souls or Elden Ring have a spiraling level design. By using verticality, they can place many routes through the dungeon close to each other, allowing for sidelines and easy backtracking. This is used for foreshadowing. An alert player can see what is coming up further ahead and anticipate traps and ambushes. Enemies are placed in a way that makes use of the level design. Not only so they fit thematically, but they also make good use of the topography of the level to offer greater and varied challenges to the player. Yet, there are also ways to go around fortified positions, allowing you to attack them from behind and turn the tables on the enemies. The level is designed in a way that suggests a main route to follow, but there are numerous alternative routes through the dungeon. Most of them are loops that lead back to themselves and back to the main route. While this design makes for complex, interwoven dungeons, it's almost impossible to get lost. If there are routes that lead to dead ends, they are usually short and offer a reward at the end. From Software are masters of environmental storytelling. There is a history to the dungeons, and the level reflects who built it, what happened to it, and who is currently inhabiting it. The furniture, the clutter, spears and shields on the ground, paintings on the walls, shrines, uniforms, and so on. Everything is designed deliberately to fit within the story. Every room has a purpose and history, and what you find in the room should reflect that. The storytelling includes the types of enemies you will face, their equipment, and even placing. While the story of the dungeon is never told to you outright, you can make educated guesses by all the hints you find throughout the dungeon. That ends my analysis of Stormvale Castle, but not my dive into dungeon design. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next video on the topic. For now, I bid thee farewell, dreamers, until we shall meet again.